Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Beat. So today I am going to make a little bunny purse out of this foam fabric. Now I bought a multi-pack from Poundland of all places, and yeah, I just wanted to run through what it's like to sew with. Perfect excuse. Okay, I've got here a piece of paper, 4-fold, bunny ears. That's easy enough, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm going to insert a nice little pink bit there as well. We're going for a white bunny. We're going to do it properly. So, nice bunny nose, bunny eyes. So nice and friendly eyes and a little twitchy nose. Now I'm going to do the eyes in black because big eyes are always much more friendly. And I'm going to do the nose in pink because we can. Okay, so that's that. I am going to draw around the mug so that my front and my back match up. I know, I ask so much, don't I? But I'm going to cut out my ears as well. So what I need is 2 circles of this and 1 with ears attached. So let's borrow that one. There we go. So this fabric foam sheeting stuff, it's like cutting butter, it really is. But you know, it has, you can't really handle it. You know, if you handle it too much, then it kind of looks a bit of a mess. So there we are, there's our front. And hopefully we've got enough white just to do the back. Now if we were a bit short, what I would do is adjust the pattern. I am a strong believer in not panicking. Not panicking at all. So let's line those up and check that they're still going to work even though we were a bit short on. Because it was only me that said that we needed to draw around the mug. Maybe I could have got a different mug from downstairs or something. So line that up, that's all great. What we need next is our eyes and our pink inserts for the ears. Now I'm a strong believer in character, as we know, and I am not going to cut my ears symmetrically. I'm going to adjust them slightly so they're slightly different. Now if I trim that so they sit neatly, that would be grand. There we are. So that's my ears, that's the other bit. Oh, I think we should put on a little bobby tail, shouldn't we? Because what are bunnies without a little bobby tail? There we go, bunny tail for the back, and our eyes and our pink noses. So, now when you're handling small bits of this, you may find it best just to use a pin because it can get a bit staticky. You know, you just try and pick it up and put it down somewhere and it won't actually go, it'll just stick to your fingers. So 2 eyes, because we want it to be a friendly bunny. Now I'm using a standard skirt zip. It's one of the sort of misdemeanors of life, isn't it? Because they make so many of these skirt size zips that they're cheaper. So I'm going to go with that size. But it does mean that we have to work out where to put it and everything, but we'll come to that bit further on. Now just because I'm not gluing doesn't mean you can't glue. Now if we were using felt for this, and felt's not that strong, it will just disintegrate after a while. Because we're using this foam fabric, we can use glue just to stick these bits in, but because technically I said we're a sewing show, what we're going to do is we're going to use the sewing machine. So I've got my face all lined up, and I'm going to sew my ears on in between, so on the other side. Okay, first thing to know, use a really large stitch because it kind of can perforate the whole fabric. When we're coming up to a thing like the nose, what we've got to be careful is that we don't just push it out of the way. You can see it's doing it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to readjust it, and then I'm going to hold it, I know, very close, so that I'm actually sewing the eye rather than allowing my sewing machine to just push it away. So I'm going to come round in a circle, and on that circle I'm going to sew over the cross of the nose. So again, my machine's pushing the piece away. I'm just going to put it under the foot by lifting the foot, and then I'm going to sew it again. Okay, nice and easy, just swing it round so we've got a nice continuous loop. And that's left us with the sewn pattern of the face, as well as secured our eyes and our nose. Now if you've got some very small sharp scissors, you can always trim these if you're not happy with the shape. So we're going to move on, and we have our ears here, and same again, and it's really up to you how you sew these on. There's a lot to be said for just catching with the zip and then leaving them flappy. It does depend on the child, and in fact that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to sew on my bunny tail, because what is a bunny without a tail? And again, all I'm doing is I'm allowing the sewing machine to take it, and I'm swinging and pulling this round. So I've got a nice continuous circle. I don't want any jumps and bumps. Okay, so next job, zip. Don't be scared of zips. You know, buy 10 from Poundland and just practice. Don't think it's not a big secret. So what I need is for my zip to be on the outside, and what I would like is for my zip to be symmetrically round. So I'm going to work out where the half of my zip is. I'm going to mark that with my finger, and then I think I'll have to do this by eye. I'm going to work out where my centre of my purse is. Okay, I'm going to mark that with a pin. Now I'm going to ease this round so that I know when to start sewing. So just twisted it round. I can get rid of this pin now because that's really not going to help me. In fact, it's going to hinder me. And I now am in the position to sew this on. So technically what I would do is I would put that under there, and I would sew round by pulling this round as I go. But because I want to catch the ears, I'm going to sew it from the back. So this is my bunny tail, so that I can see where I'm sewing for those ears. Let's put it under the sewing machine. Now I do need to watch. Well, okay, I can sew over this plastic bit. I can literally sew straight across, no problem. But I can't let my machine go anywhere near those metal teeth, because it will break my needle. I'll have probably a needle shard in my sewing machine, and oh, it's all tragic. So what I'm doing now is I am feeding my zip round the back of my bag. Okay, there we are. I'm making sure all the time that I'm actually sewing on the binding of the zip. I'm going to lift my foot up and I'm going to open my zip so that it's out of the way. Okay, and I can swing it round a bit more so I can see. Now what I need here is I need my ears, and I've cut them down quite far so that I know that I'll have a nice easy sewing strip to do, and I'm going to place my ears where I want them to go. Lovely. Now I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to continue sewing as if I was still sewing a circle. Now when I've finished, if I think that my ears are just in the wrong position, what I can then do is I can trim them with my sharp scissors, because I like the idea that they're sort of flappy and everything else like that. Okay, so just keep on sewing, keep on small movements, small adjustments. Make sure that you're picking up the tape of this zip all the time. There we go, done. So now we have the face. So whereas before I said, well, it's easiest to lie the zip flat and then move the face around, we can now do that. So I'm going to close my zip a bit, and this is just so that it doesn't get caught in the teeth. What can happen is you can sew across the zip head, but you shoot out so your line's not straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew, once I've lined everything up and I'm happy, I'm going to pull this circle across the zip, and when I come to a point that I can put the zip head behind me, I'm going to lift up my foot with my needle down so I remain in the same place and just open that zip. Now that's all out of the way, so I can just literally sew straight again while pulling. I know it's not quite as tough as I make out, but gently tugging this circle round. And we can see that I'm not asking the machine to do anything nasty, and it does seem quite happy to do it. So there we go, just coming up to the end. Obviously I've got that metal tag again, so I've got to be very, very careful. Alright, so what I'm left with, I know I need to trim my ends, but you know, that's my own problem. I'm going to close this zip for now, just so that I hold everything in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the front to the back. I'm going to tuck in these horrid bits, and I can move the zip out of the way, and we want that nice and neat. So I can place that underneath the sewing machine, and I can use the sewing machine as like a third hand. So it's not going to go anywhere. I know I could have used a pin, but it works the same. So I'm going to make sure all my loose threads are out of the way. I've got my loose ends from my zip tucked in. I can ask the machine to sew. It might need some help because we're asking it to sew a thick layer of fabric, even if it's not a tough layer of fabric. And I'm being very careful to keep away from the teeth of the zip here, this metal bit. Okay, so there we are. It needs tidying up with the small scissors, and I think what I do is I will trim just a little bit off there, then he won't look so wonky. But because he's slightly wonky and not asymmetrical, then it's given him a little bit of character. So a very simple coin purse, and we've chosen to do a bunny rabbit, but there are loads of different animals in the planet, aren't there? So there we are. Thank you ever so much for watching.